and welcome back to User Experience Design. This is the first PowerPoint video. You can download the PowerPoint slide presentation from this module, or you can enjoy the video and follow along with this presentation. This is the first presentation for Module 1. It talks about user experience design versus user interface design. So what is user experience? First of all, it's anything that occurs when a user interacts with a product. User being the person, client, shopper, etc. That could be a dog, it could be a 3-year-old. It depends on who your client is. The product can be anything that someone interacts with, from objects, websites, apps, to how a landscape or a garden moves people through it. Designing that experience, moving people through a space or getting them to navigate through your app is very similar. Here's a couple things that you have to keep in mind. In this class, we're talking about user experience, not user interface design. We focus on looking at how people interact with designs. There's going to be a heavy emphasis on wireframing and creating information architecture charts, looking at how users research, and looking at users, so researching users. What do they know? How comfortable are they? And finally, preparing scenarios and how people interact with your product. What we will not focus on is the visual aspects of it. Yes, there will be some of visual design work in here. We will look at some of the colors because sometimes that influences how users interact with the product. We will not be doing a lot of graphic design, and we will do minimum layouts. We will work a little bit with typography, but for the most part, we're going to be focusing on the interactions with the design and the planning of the experience, and then testing how that experience works. So what's the process in user experience design? Well, different companies have essentially workflows. But for us, our main kind of workflow is going to be to research a project, see what the app is or what the assignment is, come up with some ideas on how to make it better. We're going to build a prototype. We're going to test it. Now, the prototype could be just a wireframe, but it's still a prototype. Once we get the test done, we can see the results and fix any problems that are there, and then redo the prototype and test it again. That is ideally how user experience design should work. Now, a lot of times that is not what happens. The budget is small, and so companies skimp on the test and prototype cycle. We're going to try to convince people that that's not the way to go. We are also going to have different types of testing in this class. In the beginning, we're going to look at qualitative testing versus quantitative testing. Why? It makes the research sample smaller. Quantitative tests are things of the scientific method, right? You build a hypothesis, you build a study, you create a control group, you have hundreds and hundreds of participants. It's a very narrow focused study, so you're checking to see if people prefer button A versus button B. And you look at it through statistical analysis, and a lot of times this is done through surveys. Because we have a limited time schedule, and this is a class, what we're going to be focusing on is qualitative studies. So we're going to look at anecdotal incidents, groups of 3 to 4 people, so smaller sample sizes. We're having them go through an experience, and once that experience is complete, it's a personal experience. So we're looking at how this specific person interacted with this specific software. We'll look at hopefully people that talk a lot. Okay, we'll utilize narratives and interviews where we ask people how did they like an experience, what was frustrating about it. And qualitative studies also have a wide focus. So the interviews use open-ended questions like, what did you like about this website? What was a problem? It also uses focus groups a lot. So once again, small groups of people that test something, and then you pull some inferences from their test results. Okay, some of the toolkits that we will require are logic diagrams. Diagrams that kind of show the path of user has a choice. Go to page A, go to page B. What does the user do? User goes to page B. Okay, so then he gets an email from the administrator and gets a new password. Okay. We'll also look at wireframes. Wireframes are these very, very light sketches of what an app or a website should behave as. They don't use pretty pictures. They don't use pretty text. It's more about how people interact with the areas. Okay, and here's an example of wireframes on this side. We will do some prototyping, and we will do extensive prototype testing. Okay, so I will give you guys prototypes to test, and they will have some problems, and hopefully we'll find some solutions for those problems. I'll also ask you to make a few prototypes, but you know, we're not worried too much about what they look like. We're also going to heavily utilize screen capture technology, just like I'm doing right now with PowerPoint. You're going to be doing presentations online with PowerPoint, so I can hear your voice and see your happy faces. Yay! The other thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to be recording how your users interact with the app or website that we will be testing, because that is an important part of the method that we will be using. Here's some examples of what you should get out of this class at the end of the semester. Think of this as a portfolio for a UX designer. You get some ideas, scribbles, doodles. You get some prototypes and testing with wireframes, and then you get a final design. So hopefully we'll get all three. So let's get testing. If you need any help, feel free to contact the TAs through the teaching assistant link in the homepage, or send me an email. Okay. See you in the next module.